So let me just introduce myself first, and then we'll go for demo. So my name is Omar, and I'm associated with NetMinion since 3 years. And I have experience in different technology, including network security, cloud security, and I do have experience on the proxy as well. Okay, so overall I have 15 plus years of experience, and in teaching I'm taking since 7 to 8 years. I'm just taking this. Also, I'm working professional, right? So I do have experience, corporate experience. Okay, so here I would be sharing live example of all troubleshooting that we face on day-to-day basis. Okay, so this is brief about me. Yeah, if you talk about Palo Alto, so Palo Alto is a firewall, and you know what is the function of the firewall. Firewall basically does the packet filtering. Whatever you allow on the firewall, that is going to be allowed, and whatever you don't allow, the firewall is going to drop that packet. So it's doing the packet filtration, and it is going to prevent your network from different threats, we can say. So if we talk about the Palo Alto firewall, so Palo Alto firewall is a leader nowadays. If you go in any enterprise, you would see the Palo Alto firewall, right? So any big enterprise company must be using Palo Alto firewall somewhere, maybe on the branch office, maybe on the data center, but they must be using that. So in terms of to prove the knowledge that you have knowledge in the Palo Alto firewall, they offer the certification. And once you pass those certification, then you can demonstrate that you have a knowledge in the Palo Alto firewall. Right. So if we talk about their certification, so they have different level of the certification. Okay, they have the PCCSA certification, PCNSA certification, PCNSC certification. So these are the steps. Usually here we are going to cover this level of the certification. And if you just want to go the advanced level, then you can go for the advanced level as well. So I would recommend go for this, okay, which we are going to take in this demo. After that, you can go for the PCNSA. Okay, so these are the certification. Okay, we will helping you for the certification as well. If you take the participation on this particular course, so you would get the knowledge of how you can pass the certification. Okay. Now, moving to next, we will talk about why organizations are choosing Palo Alto firewall. So Palo Alto is a market leader. If you go and see the Gartner report. So this is since 2019, this is Palo Alto is on top, right? So this is market leader. That means in any organization, you would get this Palo Alto firewall, right? And this is a next generation firewall. So in next generation firewall, there are different types of features that next generation firewall supports. If we talk about most of the features, so in next generation firewall, a firewall is not only doing the packet filtering, but it is also doing the deep packet inspection. Okay, so next generation firewall, I mean your Palo Alto firewall would be able to do all the next generation firewall stuff. For example, deep packet inspection. This is one of the feature. Okay, so whenever, let's say this is your firewall, okay, and whenever firewall is receiving the traffic from the internet, let's say user is trying to access internet. This is user who is trying to access internet, and from internet any traffic is coming back to the user. Okay, user is sending the traffic and coming back to the user. So firewall would be able to do the deep packet inspection, whether that packet is okay for this system or that packet is malicious. So firewall do have the technology for the deep packet inspection. It would inspect the packet. Okay, so this is the one of the feature of next generation firewall. Next generation firewall also IPS feature, intrusion prevention system. If someone trying to penetrate your network, okay, from internet or from internal, firewall would be able to detect that and prevent that. Firewall can also do the SSL inspection. So any kind of encrypted traffic, firewall would be able to inspect that. So these are some of the next generation firewall features that Palo Alto does support. And you can manage this firewall. Either you can manage this firewall standalone, okay, or you can manage the firewall using Panorama. So both of the options you have. Like in Cisco, we have FMC. You can manage the firewall from FMC, right? All the Cisco firewall you can manage from FMC, or you can manage the standalone them. Same way here, you can manage the firewall using Panorama, or you can manage them standalone. Okay. So this is one of the good feature in the Palo Alto firewall, and that's why it's another way, another reason to popular this firewall. Now it has a dedicated CPU for management and data plane. So I mean, you know that in any device there are two planes. One is the management plane through which you are accessing the device. Okay. Another is a data plane through which the firewall is doing the process of the data. So for example, if you just want to configure the firewall, which plane you are using management plane. Management plane. For what? If you just want to configure the firewall. For example, you just want to push the policy, okay? You just want to see the status of traffic. You just want to do the packet capture. All those things, for all those things, what the plane you are using, management plane. And let's say you are doing any activity on the management plane, but let's say if that is shared CPU, okay? Shared CPU means a management plane and data plane both would be using the same CPU. What would happen? Let's say if you are fetching any report and that report is too much, you know, your firewall would get slowness. Okay, but in Palo Alto case, you have a dedicated CPU for management and dedicated CPU for data planes. That means the CPU is divided into two parts. One part is for the management plane and other part for the data plane. So if there is any effect on data, let's say DDoS attack is happening and data plane got overutilized, even though through management plane, you can see the reporting, your reporting still would work, your logging still would work, okay? Or vice versa. Let's say you are fetching any report and your management plane utilization gone high, but data plane would remain unaffected. So this is the benefit of dedicated CPU for management plane and data plane. There are segregated CPU, you can say. Okay, Palo Alto you can deploy on the any cloud. If your organization are using any cloud infrastructure, you can deploy the Palo Alto on the cloud, and you can deploy Palo Alto on your on-premises network as well. So if you have any Azure subscription or AWS, okay, over there you can deploy the Palo Alto, okay. And if you using on-premises network, you can deploy Palo Alto there as well on your on-premises network. Also, Palo Alto does have the functionality of central log collection. That means if you have multiple firewall in different location, one firewall in US, other firewall in UK, other firewall, let's say in Asia, APAC region, okay, Asia Pacific region. So all these firewall can send logs to any centralized device, especially it can send to the Panorama. And from Panorama, you can send the logs to any SIEM tool. For example, Splunk. Okay, so now if you need to see the logs for US firewall, UK firewall, or APAC firewall, you can search logs from the central location. Also, in Palo Alto firewall, there is a single pass parallel processing architecture. A Palo Alto architecture is really very strong, which processes the packet very fast. So this is known as a SP3 architecture. SP3 architecture is very fast. This is very fast. The reason, all the packet it does process in parallel way, not in serial way. Okay, so let's say firewall is receiving any particular packet over here. So in Palo Alto, we have different types of engine. We have content engine, we have app engine. So all these things would inspect parallelly. It won't go one by one. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the next picture where you can see that how SP3 model is going to work. Okay, so this is SP3 model. In SP3 model, what is happening? whenever any packet hits your firewall, this is your firewall. So when any packet hits to the firewall, in firewall, you have a single pass software. So this software ensures that a packet should pass in one time only, and in the single pass, app ID, content ID, user ID, networking, all these functions should parallelly work. Okay. So for example, if Palo Alto receive any packet, application ID, user ID, content ID, and networking, all these would be checked in a single pass only. And to support this, we have parallel processing hardware. So there are dedicated hardware inside the Palo Alto firewall, okay, for security, for networking, for content filtering, and for the management as well. So these are the dedicated hardware which would be supporting single pass architecture. Okay, so that's a single pass architecture. If you see the traditional firewall works in this way. Whenever any packets come to the traditional firewall, let's say there is any traditional firewall, so you can take example of Checkpoint firewall, or you can take example of any other firewall, FortiGate itself. They don't have parallel processing for the packet. Whenever packet would hit the firewall, let's say it would check the firewall policy. After checking the firewall policy, it would go for the URL filtering. Then it would go for the IPS. It would go for the antivirus. And you can see that here packet is processing as a multi-pass. You can see in each process, you can see that layer 3, layer 3, layer 3. These layer 3 function is always being performed. Right. So this is parallel. This is multi-pass architecture. A same packet is being passed multiple times for the same thing. But if it would be Palo Alto, what would happen? In Palo Alto, a packet would pass same time and all those functions will perform at once or simultaneously. So that's the benefit of the using Palo Alto firewall. So Palo Alto firewall is really very fast. You can see this is a parallel processing, single pass parallel processing. This is also known as a SP3 architecture. Okay. And for that, there are dedicated hardware to support this. Right. So if you have any question, please ask. Now moving to next, if we talk about policy processing, how Palo Alto do the policy processing. So in Palo Alto, there are 5 steps. Step number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There are 5 steps on which Palo Alto does the process of the packet. So any packet would hit the firewall. Let's say this is the firewall. And now this is the user who want to send the packet to the internet. Okay, so let's say this is Ethernet 0 and this is Ethernet 1. You can say that this is inside interface and this is outside interface. So basically inside, outside, nothing but this is a zone. Zone inside, zone outside. And this is my firewall. So whenever any packet hit to the firewall on Ethernet 0, first of all, firewall is going to do initial packet processing. In initial packet processing, it would check on the packet whether zone is mentioned or not, source zone and address is mentioned or not, user ID mentioned or not. If there is everything is okay, then it would go for next one. Whether for that particular destination, whether there is any policy-based forwarding is enabled, for the on the packet, whether destination zone is mentioned, whether netting is required. So all these things it would check on the initial policy processing or initial packet processing. If this is okay, everything is okay over here, then it would go for security pre-policy check, where it is going to check whether that packet is allowed or not. Okay, if allowed, then it is going to create a session. Session would be created. After that, it is going to check the application. It would check whether this is encrypted traffic. If this is encrypted traffic, it is going to decrypt it. Why it is going to decrypt it? Because it need to check the content. Okay. So it is going to decrypt it. After that, it is going to check the application ID, whether the application ID is mentioned or not, whether application override is mentioned or not. So all these things it is going to check. After application check, it is going for the security policy check. In security policy, it is going to check security profile. So here, all your IPS, antivirus, anti-bot, everything would be going to check over here on security policy. If packet is okay, then it would go for post policy processing. Okay, in post policy processing, now it is going to forward the packet to the egress interface over here. And before forwarding the packet, it is going to re-encrypt it. If it has decrypted the packet, so it is going to re-encrypt, apply NAT, and then it would forward the packet to the destination. So overall 5 steps to forward the packet from ingress to egress. Okay, any questions so far? So now I'm going to show you demo.
Yeah, this right. Normally,
go ahead. Yeah,
you ask this packet flow. Normally, this question will ask in interviews. Means how the packet flow from the inside to outside. These, if you say like this, is it fine, right? The one you told.
I mean, this is in the block diagram. If you see the packet process in a detail, let me show you. Palo Alto packet flow. So this is the detailed diagram for packet flow. This one is the detailed one. So this detailed diagram I would show you when you join the course. Okay. But in the brief, I have shown you that how it is going to process it. But this is the detailed one. Here we are going to show you slow path, fast path, then application identification, how it is happening. Everything I would show you in detail, but not now, but later when you join this course.
Okay, because now this fast path is there, right? Normally, what happened is sometimes I see in the logs, this fast path is enabled, and this I think in FMC also this feature is available for the fast path as well.
Yes, right. In any firewall, there is a slow path, there is a fast path, and there is a medium path. Okay. So first time when firewall received the first time packet, it would always go via slow path. In slow path, it is going to check the netting, etc., everything. But if the same, if the packet would come for same session again, then it would go via fast path. It would not go via slow path. It would go via fast path. For session setup, it would go via slow path. But once session gets set up, it would go via fast path.
This regarding SP3 architecture is there, right? I want to check whether it's perfectly working on. Is there any command to check that SP3 architecture is correctly working on?
Yeah, there is a packet capture process. You can check the packet capture and you can check whether the SP3 is working perfectly or not. So when you capture the packet and you analyze in the tool, then you can check.
Okay, thank you. This SP3 architecture is for every Palo Alto. It's depend upon
it's for
model.
everyone.
Okay,
it's for every model. Yes, this is for every model. Okay. This is core of the Palo Alto firewall. So this is for every model, even though your virtual machine itself.
Okay, fine.
So now going to lab. This is a Palo Alto lab, and how you can access our lab. Our lab is accessible 24/7. So this is a lab link. Okay, you can access it. And if you just want to know the course content, so you can visit our website. This is website. You can visit here over here. You can select the course over here. Okay, so there are so many courses. You can go for security one. So in security one, you can see these are the courses. And if you want to see the Palo Alto, you can click here. And this is the Palo Alto. Okay, there are videos as well uploaded for the Palo Alto. Here you would see the course content in the detail. You can download and you can see. So if I show you course content, what we are covering here in the course, so we are covering module by module. So in first module, we are going to cover platform and architecture, where we will discuss about the single pass parallel processing and flow logic. Flow logic means packet flow. After that, we will go for initial configuration. Then we will going for the interface configuration, then netting, then app ID, content ID, and file blocking. Okay, wildfire, encryption, decryption, user ID, site-to-site tunnel, I mean your VPN tunnel, management reporting, HA. Okay, so all these topics we are going to cover module to module. Okay, so this is a course content you can find over here in this link. Right, now to access the lab, let me show you how you would access the lab. So basically, I have already logged in. So basically, you are going to access our lab using labs.netminion.net. And once you access the lab, we are going to assign the lab to you. You can click on access your lab. It would ask you for login because I have already logged in. So it didn't ask any login for me. And here you can see these are the devices. And it's a pretty simple. If you want to turn on any devices, you just right click and it is going to turn off your or turn on devices. If you want to access any particular devices, you don't need to connect a physical console cable. You can directly click on the device and then it is going to open separate terminal for that and you can access over here. Like you can see here. So if you want to do basic configuration on any Palo Alto firewall, for example, for management interface, you just want to set the IP. Okay, so how you can set? You can just go to Palo Alto your Palo Alto firewall. I have already opened the terminal right here. Let's close this. So if you just want to do basic setup, for example, I just want to configure IP on these particular firewall, and then I just want to access it, how it would looks like. So how I can do? These are the management interface. We can configure the IP for this Palo Alto one. I'm just going to configure 10.0.0.1 IP. And for this one, I am just going to configure 10.0.0.2 IP. Okay, so how you can do? Basically, you can access your firewall, either connecting console cable. Since we are in our lab, once I would click on this particular firewall, I would get the console of this. So let me just access those firewall. I'm just going to configure Palo Alto 2 right now. So default login is admin, password is also admin. Once you put default username password, it would ask you to enter old password to change the password. So put admin old password. New password I'm putting test@123. Test@123. So this is console of your Palo Alto firewall. Here you can run basic command, but if you just want to do configuration, a system configuration, right? Because management is part of your system. So you can go to configure and then you can set IP address using this command, set device config system and then IP address. So by default, your system would take dynamic IP address, but before dynamic, you have to make it static, right? So here you can select type static. So it would configure itself for static IP address. And after that, you can run same command, set device config system, then IP-address for IP address. And then you can define the IP 10.0.0.2. This is IP. And then net mask 255.255.255.0. In the Palo Alto, if you don't commit anything, then this is not going to be effective. So you have to run the commit command to commit the changes.
I have one doubt here.
Yeah.
You typed this command set device, but I didn't do any commit. But my session is logged up. What about this command will be still it isn't saved?
So if while when you commit this and your session is gone, but once it got triggered there in Palo Alto, so yes, it is going to save.
No, I'm not understand. My question is, see, if you talk about normal, I do changes in Palo Alto. I just edit the policies for every time, but you do commits on the actual push on the device only on push days. What you do is you save the you edit the policies, but every time you commit to the panorama. My question is, I just edit the policies, I did commit to the panorama. My session is logged off. Somehow I didn't commit to the panorama, and my session also log off from the panorama. Will my policies will be saved or not? That is my question.
So if you haven't saved anything and your session gone, right? So your configuration would not save. Okay, it would not save. You have to save it, and in between, if your session gone, then your session means connectivity. You mean to say, right?
Yeah, log off something, just idle time.
You logged off. Okay, without saving, you just logged off. No, your changes would not be affected there.
You should commit to the panorama. At that time only
you should save. You said you should save.
But there is a no save button is there, right? In the panorama.
There is a save option. I mean, if you open the panorama, I don't have right now, but there is a save option. I mean, next to commit, there is a drop down button. If you click there, there is an option to save.
The configs I can save, right? Configs are same, but I'm talking about
config you can save, right? Configuration.
I'm not talking about configs. I'm talking about the objects.
You just want to save the object, right?
Yeah, I'm editing the objects. Configuration is different and the objects is different.
Right. The config is different and object is different, right? So if you haven't saved, it is not be there. If you haven't comment, it would not be there.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. All right. So I have just assigned the IP address to this, and after that I would go here on my workstation and I would try to access this firewall. I mean, Palo Alto recommend that do most of the configuration through GUI. Okay, so GUI of the Palo Alto is really very great. Okay, so it recommends do all the configuration or most of the configuration through GUI. Okay, and CLI we also use in Palo Alto, but only for troubleshooting. Mostly for troubleshooting we use the CLI, but for configuration we do prefer GUI. So you just open this system, assign the IP address to this system. Let me just assign. You need to make sure you have same series of the IP address as we have for the management. For management, we have taken 10. So I'm just going to take 10 over here as well. 10.0.0.10 and subnet mask /24. Right. So now you can access your Palo Alto firewall. First, you can make sure that you have a connectivity. This is second firewall, and first firewall I have already assigned IP. This is first firewall. So I do have the connectivity of both Palo Alto devices. And now I can access through GUI. So try to access through GUI, https:// and then IP address of your machine, Palo Alto firewall. Okay, it is giving the certificate error, but no problem, you can access it. You can log in using admin user, password we have changed, test@123. So I'm inside the Palo Alto firewall. Here it is giving you, welcome page. So these are the few tabs that you can use to see that. This is the dashboard tab. Using dashboard, you can see the basic information, including general information about your system. What is device name? What is the IP address of device? Okay. So this is just showing the management IP address, nothing else. This is the management IP address, and this is the device name. Okay, and then device model. Device model means if you have any hardware, so it is going to show hardware device model. If you have virtual machine, so it is showing like in this way, Palo Alto virtual machine. Since we have the firewall which is virtual, that's why it is showing as a VM. Here it would be showing serial number, but serial number it would only show if your firewall is activated. Right now it's not activated. That's why it's not showing the serial number. Here it is a CPU ID. This is the license. It's not license. You can see there is no license installed. That's what. This is the operating system version. This is OS. Like you have in Cisco ASA, you have a ASA operating system. Same way here, this is the OS. Basically, this OS is known as the PAN OS, Palo Alto Network Operating System. This is the PAN OS version. So we are using here in our lab 9.0.4. And this is a global protect agent. This was used for the remote access VPN. Okay, right now there is no agent install, application version, URL filtering. So all these things you can see. This is the date and time, and this is the time. This is uptime. It is telling that since what your firewall is up. Okay, who logged in, that information you can see. The admin user has logged in using CLI as well as web. So it is showing, and these are the system logs. It is showing that admin user has logged in using HTTPS. Authentication has done from this particular IP. So these are the system logs it is showing. Basic information it can show you, okay, over here. And if you just want to see additional information, what you can do, you can customize the widgets. Okay, so you can add more widgets to see more option. For example, any interface level information you just want to see. So click here on system, you can see the interface information. So overall, we have 8 interface and none of the interface is up right now. Okay, any further more information you just want to see, you can add more widgets over here. Top application, etc. You can see. There is no data because right now nothing is passing through this firewall. Then this is application command center. In application command center, this is one of the good tools. Okay, right now there is no traffic in my firewall, but what happened in here, you can see the activity. Top application, you can see, top user, you can see. If let's say if someone says that they just want a report for top user. So from here you can see the activity. Who is the top user? What is the top application? What are the top block activities? All those things you can see using here. And then we have next tab, which is monitoring tab. Using this monitoring tab, you can see the logs. Right now there is no traffic, that's why you cannot see any logs. But using traffic, you can see that the logs for your traffic, what is the source, what is the destination. This is for the firewall logs. If you just want to see IPS logs, you can see using threat. If you just want to see URL filtering log, you can see using URL filtering. If you just want to see system logs, that you can see right here. It is going to show you system logs. And there are different types of severity. Okay, so you can see the system logs as well. And further, you just want to create a policy, you can create a policy using this. There are different types of policy you would be creating. You are going to create firewall policy. So that firewall policy you are going to create using this security tab. The NAT policy, netting. If you just want to configure netting on the firewall, you would be doing from here. Quality of services, QS. If you just want to configure QS, okay, so you can do using QS policy. PBR decryption. So these are the policy. There are different types of policy that we are going to learn further. But using this tab, you are going to configure all these policies. Then further, we have other tab, which is object tab. Using these, you are going to create object. So object is nothing but these are the logical representation of addresses, region, application, etc. So you can create the object for address, okay, that you are going to call further on the policy. So any kind of object, if you want to see, you can see using object. And if you just want to see object for application, you can click on this application and you'll be able to see different types of object. For example, there is a Zoom application. And for that, if you just want to see what is the object created, you can click there. Okay. Further, we have network. Here you are going to do the configuration regarding network. For example, interface configuration, zone configuration, you are going to do from here. For example, if you just want to assign the IP address to the interfaces, this is the interface and you just want to assign IP address, zone, etc. So you can do from here. So let's say I just want to create a zone. You can click on zone, click on add. And using this option, you can create a zone. There are different types of zone, which we are going to learn further. But for now, I'm just going to create a layer 3 zone, a trust zone. So I'm just going to create trust zone, one of the zone, and I would create one more, untrust. This is layer 3. So zone you can create using this zone option. You can create the interfaces as well, configure the interfaces. For example, it's a net 1/1. I just want to configure it. I would configure as a layer 3 because I just want to assign IP address. Virtual router, I can define default, and security zone, I can define. This is the trust zone.
One interface can be only one zone, right? It cannot, it should not be multiple zones. Is it correct?
Right, correct. Now I have assigned the IP addresses to this. And then I would create one more interface. I mean, I would configure one more interface using this interface option. Virtual router default, security zone is untrust. So we assign IP address. Right. So if you just want to assign the IP to the interface, you can do using network tab. And device related configuration, you can do using device one. For example, you just want to change the host name, etc. So you can click here and you can change the host name. This is PA02 and click on OK. Host name has been changed. So this would not effective until you commit the changes. Once you commit the changes, all the setting is going to push into the firewall. Whatever the changes you made, that is going to push into the firewall.
In this training, will you provide real-time scenarios?
Yes. Real-time scenario plus, interview question as well. Now I have configured two interface. You can see the status over here. Interface status, it is up now. Okay. Also, you can go on the network tab and you can see the interface status here as well. Okay. Now I would create a policy to allow the traffic. So let's create a policy to allow the traffic. So click on add, click the rule name, allow _ trust to and trust. Give the source. Who is the source? So source I'm putting trust. Destination I'm putting untrust. Application I'm putting that it should just allow ping traffic. And then URL, nothing. Action, allow, click on OK. And now commit it. So if my traffic is going from trust to untrust, that is going to be allowed. So for that, I'm just going to configure here. Another interface of this system I'm using as
allowing LAN to WAN policy, right?
Yes, that's a LAN to WAN policy. So this interface I'm assigning another IP 192.168.2.10, and its gateway would be my firewall 192.168.2.1. That would be the gateway, and this is a router. Let's say this is WAN side. So this router interface Ethernet 0/0 IP I would assign 100.0.0.10, okay, which is pointing towards this firewall. So when I generate the traffic from here to this one, the traffic would go to the switch to the firewall, and from firewall to back to the switch to this router. That's how my traffic would flow. So let me just configure the IP to this system as well. Other interface, this one. Let's assign IP address. IP address would be according to internal network. So I'm just going to assign IP address to this one. 192.168.2.10. Subnet mask 255, and then 192.168.2.1. This is the gateway. Gateway is the IP of the firewall. Okay. Same way I would configure this system also, this router also. Interface Ethernet 0/0. IP address 192, sorry, not 192, 100.0.0.0, 0.10, subnet mask 255.255.255.0. No shut, exit, IP route 0.0.0.0, 100.0.0.1, W1. Let me try to ping from here, from this system, external router. CMD ping 100.0.0.10. It's going through, and it would be going through a firewall. How you can check that traffic is going? You just go to monitor and just browse the session. If it is going through the firewall, it is going to tell you. Just open any logs. This is showing the logs. Okay, traffic is being allowed over here. And if you disable this policy, let's say I disable this rule.
I have one doubt. You're checking on this one, right? And monitor tab. Normally in the production, for the valid license, you go and check the traffic, but you check the session browser.
Right.
What will be different? I understand that part is understand because of license, the traffic will not show in the Palo Alto. That thing I know. Right. But what is the difference between? See, normally the traffic. If you want to see the logs, is it good place to see other traffic?
Here you can see the historical, but here you would be able to see only live until the session there. Okay, till the session there you can see under session browser. But once session gone, your logs would go on over here, but not from here. The traffic would be showing the historical as well.
Yeah, correct. But whatever the live traffic, that traffic only it will show in the session browser. Is it correct?
Yes, live traffic would show in the session browser.
Session browser. And this ACC is there, right? For example, some users complains that they're unable to access even though the policies are allowed on the firewall. If you go to the blocked activities there, it will be helpful to pull any reports by using this ACC tab.
Yes, you can pull the reporting if you just want. Here it is only reporting options. Not from ACC. In ACC you would be able to see top 10, top session. I mean, you can see aggregate logs you can see over here, but not granular. Granular level, you would see it from the monitoring only.
Okay, fine.
So,
and
I mean,
actually,
top users, if you just want to see top talkers, who are the top users, top threads, all those things you can see there from ACC. But
yeah,
if
in
you just
the
want
ACC, I can see there is a tab of blocked activity. That's what I'm interested. Blocked
Which
activity.
One?
There is a tab blocked activity.
Yeah, you can create over here. If you
not here. Cancel that one. In the
blocked activity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is top blocked. Top blocked, top threads which are blocked, top content which are blocked, top URL which are blocked.
Okay, fine. Understand.
Okay, so I disable that rule, and now you can say after disabling, my traffic is stopped. Traffic is not going through. So using firewall, what you can do, you can control it. If I re-enable it, after enabling, nothing would happen. We have to commit it. See, until you commit, it won't work.
And I have one more question. This, see, normally what happened is sometimes when they decommission the servers, and to get request from the customers, no need these policies. Could you please delete the rules? Is it good practice to disable the rule or delete the rule?
First, disable the rule, and after that, delete that. However, now in Palo Alto, there is a policy optimizer. If you run them, so it is going to show you that what are the past 30 days unused rule. So this is also good feature. So any rule which are unused, okay, you can observe that and you can ask if that is not required, you can disable first and then you can delete it. That's what best
yeah, how okay, fine, that's fine. You see, instead of deleting, if I disable, it will be any impact on my firewall?
Disabling is yes, there may be impact if there is any traffic going through that particular rule. Okay, but there, let's say no traffic is going via that rule, and if you disable that, there would be no impact.
No, my question is instead of deleting, what I do is, by safer side, I'm just putting disable. By keeping the disable rule, the traffic is there. The traffic flow will again, that disable will inspect that rule? No,
it would skip.
That will be ignored. That rule will be always be ignored.
It would be always ignored. Right.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all in the demo. Okay, however, this is very quick session. Okay, however, you got some knowledge about this Palo Alto, right? And if you just want to further pursue our course, so definitely you can talk to our coordinator. Joya is there, so she is our coordinator. You can talk to her, right? Meanwhile, if you have any other technical question, you can ask to us. Okay, I can answer that. And regarding your fee structure course, you can talk to Joya. Any technical question I can answer.
I was just saying thank you to everyone. Okay, you joined over here, and thanks especially to you, Amar, to conducting such a good session. So guys, I would like to say that Amar is a working professional. Okay, he is having 15 years plus experience in the security, not only the Palo, but more and more like firewalls, having the experience in the networking switching and ADC side also. He's aware about LTM, GTM, ASM kind of technology, cloud. So he is having a multi-vendor experience. So if you are coming over here, the very first benefit what you are getting is a working professional trainer. Then you will be getting the lab, of course, 24/7 on over the cloud. You can access them, okay, as per your convenient. Then whatever we are teaching, everything is getting recorded, okay. So maybe if someone of you miss one class or maybe like that, okay, miss some part of the class, you can get a take revision from the videos. That video will get helpful for you at any time. Okay. Then yes, there are a couple of workbooks also. If you need to prepare, you need to go to the lab what Amar was showing you earlier. Okay. You can go through those workbook and you can create the lab from the scratch to the advanced level, or maybe you can do, you know, whatever practical he is showing on the lab. So that is having an hands-on experience altogether. Okay.